Question 4 is cost accounting. 4.1 deals with the concepts. So the question says, choose the correct term from those within brackets. So the terms are in brackets and we have to choose the correct term. So here on our answer sheet, we'll write our answers. 4.1.1 says, direct labor and direct material used in the factory are equal to total overhead cost or total prime cost. So direct labor plus direct material always gives me total prime cost. So 4.1.2 says, the salary of the factory cleaner, is that direct or indirect labor cost? So the factory cleaner is not directly involved in making the product, but the cleaner is in the factory. So that's indirect labor cost. So let's choose indirect. Okay, 4.1.3 says, rent of a building is considered factory overhead cost or delivery cost. Okay, that is factory overhead cost. Okay, so renting the building is factory overhead cost. Next, 4.1.4, factory overhead costs are direct or indirect manufacturing expenses that are related to the production of finished goods. So is factory overhead direct or indirect? It's indirect. So this is indirect. And then an expense for factory rent is recorded as direct cost or factory overhead cost. So anything that has to do with the factory is factory overhead cost. So this is also factory overhead cost. Okay, and that is 5 marks. Okay, the next question is a favorite question. It says, explain the difference between fixed cost and variable cost. So here in your answer book, they start with variable cost. So variable means change. So this cost, it changes as the number of goods that you produce. So as the number of goods produced changes. We can give an example. For example, raw materials. So raw materials is a variable cost. And then a fixed cost stays the same. So this one remains constant. Remains constant irrespective of the number of goods made. Number of goods made or produced. We can give an example. An example will be the rent that you pay. That will be the same every month. Doesn't matter how many products you produce. So let's go on to our next question. So 4.3 says, Dan Malgas manufactures and sells kites for children. Okay, the selling price per kite is 155 Rand. He manufactured 2,500 kites during October. Provided below is a summary of all his costs. So when you look at the bottom, there's the summary, and then here's the questions. So complete the following. 4.3.1. Calculate the direct material cost per kite. So this is not the total direct material cost, it's for each kite. So I'm going to go direct material per kite. Direct material is all the material involved in making the kite. So material per kite, I'm going to use that. Then I'm going to take the wood per kite, then the line per kite, and that will be the direct material cost. I'm not going to take the wages because that's the wages you pay to the laborers. That would be a labor cost. So only those 3, so the material plus the wood, that's also material, and the line is also material. And that gives me a total of 35 Rand, direct material cost per kite. And that's how you would get 4 marks. Okay, our next question is calculate the total manufacturing overhead cost for October. So this is not per kite. This is the total and it's manufacturing overhead. So for manufacturing overhead cost, let's see what goes into that. Anything that has to do with the factory. So first, everyone who works in the factory, that's not directly involved in the product. So the salary of the factory supervisor, yes, he is in the factory, but he is not making the kite. So that's the total. The rent for the factory, yes, the rent, 8,000, plus water and electricity for the factory, yes, that's a total amount of 2,500 for the month. And then indirect material cost, plus 500. So, okay, we have our total manufacturing overhead cost. And this will give us a total of 16,000 Rand. Okay, so that's how you get marks there. Let's mark this. This is 1, 2, 3, and then that's how you would get 4 marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how you would get 5 marks. Okay, our next question is 4.3.3. Calculate total production cost for October if 2,500 kites were produced. So total production cost is equal to, so total production cost is direct material, total direct material cost, plus total direct labor cost, plus our factory overhead cost. So plus our manufacturing overhead cost. Okay, so totals of these. So for direct material cost, do you remember that we worked out direct material cost? Direct material cost here was 35 Rand per kite. So for direct material cost, I'm going to say this is 35 Rand times the number of kites that was produced. So times 2,500. Then direct labor cost, because this is direct labor cost. Direct labor cost we didn't work out, but you see the wages here that you pay per kite is 50 Rand. That's the labor cost. So that's 50 Rand for each kite times 2,500 kites. And then the factory overhead cost, the manufacturing overhead cost, we worked out, it was the 16,000 in the previous question. So I must also add the 16,000 here. So I'm going to get the answers to those and then add 16,000 as well. So here I get 87,500. Here I get 125,000. So then I just say, let me add them up. It's this one, plus this one, plus that one. And I get a total of 228,500. Okay, so in the next question, they say calculate the unit cost of production. So if this is the total production cost, then the unit cost is my total production cost. So it's this answer that you got here. So 228,500, and then per unit, so you divide it by the number of kites you produced, and I get my answer to be 91,40. So that's for 3 marks. Next question. My next question is 4.3.5, and it says calculate the percentage profit that Dan Malgas earned per kite during October. So this is for one kite. If the kites were sold for 155 each. So they want to know what is the percentage profit that he made. So to work out the percentage profit, you take the selling price minus the cost price over the cost price, and that times 100. Okay, so let's go. The selling price is 155. The cost price per unit is this over here. So this is cost of production. So that's our cost price, 91.40, over the cost price again, times 100, and the answer here is 69.6%, or you can round it off to 70%. And there we are done with this question.